I think you'll find these tools to be... Choose this horse and carriage after you have chosen your destination from either your notebook or the directory. It will take you where you want to go. When you believe you have directed Holmes to all of the right and proper places, and you have enough information to name the murderer and the motive, choose this icon. The Baker Street Irregulars are an untidy bunch of young street boys who happen to be on the proper side of the law. They have an undeniable knack for bringing back priceless bits of information in a fraction of the time it would take Holmes or myself. When you want to summons them, first choose the destination from your notebook or the directory, then choose the irregulars. In no time at all, they will return with whatever details they were able to unearth. Choosing this icon puts a notebook at your fingertips. I believe you'll find that your notebook is your greatest detective tool. Use it to keep track of names and places that you believe you might want to investigate. When you do decide upon a person to question or a place to research, first go to your notebook, choose the appropriate name, then choose the horse and carriage. You will be off and running. Because the Baker Street regulars are often critical to solving a case, I've included them in your notebook. Use them wisely. This gives you access to the London directory. In it, you will find everyone you need to query in your attempt to solve these cases. The directory is also the source for your notebook. You may also use the directory much like your notebook. First, choose your intended destination, then choose the horse and carriage, and you'll have another way to get from one place to the next. Mr. Holmes' files provide a wealth of information that he has been collecting over the years. Some of it is quite pertinent to the various cases, and some of it offers simply a fascinating and informative sidelight. When you want to access the files, first choose the destination from your notebook or the directory, then choose here when you want to see what relevant information Holmes might already have at hand.
Body found in the Thames. Read it in the Times.
Holmes has always claimed that the newspaper is a treasure of information when one can read between the lines. When you are ready to consult the Times, you may of course have a look at your paper copy or simply choose here for a close-up view.
Body found in the Thames. Read it in the Times.
London is not a beautiful city. Under the soot that covers its buildings is a teeming mass of 4 million souls trying to survive, mostly off of each other. You see it in the paper every day. Thankfully, we have the London Times to keep us informed of all these troubling activities with an unbiased eye and razor-sharp accuracy. We find this publication to be of invaluable assistance in our investigations, and I'm sure you will as well. Among the forces of evil which run rampant in this city, there are also, thankfully, two groups of individuals who will aid us in our cause. As we do, they attempt to right wrongs and restore harmony and civility to the streets of London. The first of these groups is a ragtag association of young ruffians. I call them the Baker Street Irregulars. Don't let them fool you. They may be scruffy and ill-bred, but they are on the right side of the law. They can go everywhere, see everything, and overhear everyone. They are my eyes and ears in the streets of London, unquestionably a tremendous asset in our work. They will help us in our investigations if they can. The other group is a far more civilized collection of gentlemen and institutions. I call them the Baker Street Regulars. They, too, will be extremely useful in our work. At the start of any investigation, do keep in mind that it is a capital mistake to theorize before one has data. Unwittingly, one begins to twist facts to suit theories instead of theories to suit facts. The people and places to whom I will now introduce you will help us to collect the facts. May we use them wisely. Come, the game's afoot. London is not a beautiful city. Mr. Henry Ellis is the foreign news editor for the London Times. He is a great reservoir of information.
Your housekeeper let me in. I hope I'm not disturbing you. I'm Richard Allen.
You're not disturbing us in the least, Mr. Allen. Sit down. How may we be of assistance?
My brother, Courtney Allen, was the president of the Grant Arms Company.
Found shot to death in the alley behind his office on the evening of March 9th. My condolences.
Thank you. It was all so terribly tragic. Scotland Yard put it down as a simple robbery by person or persons unknown. But I don't believe it, and that's why I'm here. Mr. Holmes, will you please take on this case?
It has some interesting elements. Tell me, Mr. Allen, what sort of man was your brother?
Courtney was a dynamic, charismatic individual. Always busy, forever on the move.
I knew a chap like that in the service. He was quite a charmer with the ladies.
Yes, and so was Courtney. No woman could resist him.
Wasn't your brother married?
Yes. Poor Beatrice.
Then I take it he had other romantic involvements at the time of his death?
Well, yes, I believe he did, but I haven't a clue as to who the lady or ladies in question might have been.
With your brother dead, who has assumed the presidency?
Courtney's handpicked successor, Philip Marlowe, the second vice president.
Doesn't that sort of transfer of power usually go to the senior vice president?
Well, usually. But the senior vice president is Lord Raglan, who runs the Devereux Street plant. He's a brilliant technician, but a most inept businessman.
Who inherits your brother's stock?
His wife, Beatrice. It's also very upsetting.
There, Mr. Allen.
I assume those are the personal effects found with your brother?
There wasn't much. A few folders, his keychain, his gold wedding band, and a small notebook. I did notice, however, that his pocket watch was missing. Anything of interest, Mr. Holmes?
They appear to be of a primarily personal nature. This one is empty. What does SP10 indicate, Mr. Allen?
I haven't a notion.
There are two entries on the day of your brother's death. Captain Egan, 8:30 p.m. The other entry is plant, 8 a.m. Surprise. There also appears to be a note stuck in the back of the book. Written in your brother's hand. It says, meet me tonight at Spaniards at 10 o'clock, followed by the initials A.M.
Spaniards. I positively salivate over their paella.
Yes, it is very good indeed. Thank you, Mr. Allen. I think we have enough to begin our investigation.
Your housekeeper let me in. I hope I'm not disturbing you. I'm Richard.
I'm here about the Courtney Allen murder. Can you give us any information, Ellis?
Oh, the Grant Arms Company case. Well, as you might already know, they were working on a secret new naval gun. Said it would be superior to anything available today. If superiority on the high seas isn't motive enough for murder, I don't know what is.
Do you know who killed Allen?
Personally, I doubt it was an Englishman who pulled the trigger. If I were you, I'd go knocking on the doors of the military attachés, Delgera, Count von Schulenburg, Zobar, and Meshkov.
Are you suggesting espionage?
Perhaps you and Holmes should draw your own conclusions. I've already drawn mine.
I believe Scotland Yard's got the motive all wrong.
How so?
A common thief would not leave behind a briefcase. Therefore, the motive for the murder must be obscure. It seems that you have quite a puzzle on your hands.
The possibility of foreign involvement struck me as soon as I heard of his death. But so far, all I know is what the Yard has released, which as usual amounts to sweet nothing.
I'm surprised you're wasting your time on this one, Holmes. It was a simple robbery. We found Allen dead in an alley behind Grant Arms. Wallet empty, gold watch missing, briefcase open, contents askew but not stolen. It's an open and shut case.
Was there anything else found at the scene that could be of use to us, Inspector?
I doubt it. Nothing but a couple of tin cans and an old cigarette butt.
B&H.
What does that mean?
You don't know? Why, then I must assume you also do not know why the end is evenly pinched all round. Perhaps you should read my monograph on the subject of 100 most commonly found cigarette butts.
My word, the London Library closed for renovations? My stars!
Carry on, Watson.
Yes, I recall the Allen case. Chap was shot in the chest, at very close range too, if I'm not mistaken.
How close?
Oh, I'd say from a distance of 2 feet, no more.
How could you tell?
There are extensive powder burns on his overcoat.
Do you have the bullet?
No, but I'm sure it was of large caliber.
How can you be so sure?
I distinctly recall the exit wound. It was massive.
Oh, how grisly.
What came out of your usual tete-a-tete with Murray, Dr. Whitson?
Oh, very funny, Helms. Actually, I learned nothing at all. Apparently, Murray is on holiday in the south of France with his brother Mortimer.
I am afraid that none of the principals in your case have ever had any brush with the law. I guess you could say that's fortunate for them, but unfortunate for you.
Yes, I do believe I can help you out on that one. Courtney Allen was paying court to old von Schulenburg's new bride.
What? The Countess von Schulenburg?
Deliciously wicked, isn't it?
Would you care for one, Mr. Holmes? Burns and Hill Imperials. Quite good.
No, thank you. I am loyal to my pipe.
I doubt that I can shed any light on the murder of Mr. Allen.
Were you aware that the Grant Arms Company was developing a new weapon for the British government?
I knew of such a weapon, yes, but not of any of the details concerning it.
I'm curious, Count. Do you recall where you were on the evening of March 9th?
I recall quite clearly. My wife and I were at the home of Hector Del Guerra, military attaché to the Spanish government.
Of course, I recall March 9th. It is our wedding anniversary. That evening, we had a formal dinner party for 30 guests.
What time did the festivities begin?
Most of the guests arrived by 6:30, but not all. Count von Schulenburg and his wife made their grand entrance at 8:30.
Mr. Lindhart, I understand Mr. Allen was scheduled to meet with Captain Egan at 8:30.
Oh, yes. Egan's the artillery officer for the Admiralty. I saw him leave for the meeting around 8. He said goodnight and went out to the back door to the alley where he always leaves to catch a cab.
Do you know what the meeting was about?
Not that particular meeting, but Mr. Allen and Captain Egan did meet often to discuss the progress of their new special project, Project 10. I did find it curious that the meeting on the 9th was scheduled for the evening. All the others occurred during the day.
I imagine a person in his position must have been extremely concerned about security.
Indeed he was. He called in Lord Ragland after he noticed several strange people hanging around the Deverell Street plant. All the technical data, blueprints, that sort of thing are housed there.
I see. I understand you are now secretary to the new president, Mr. Marlowe.
Yes. He was Mr. Allen's hand-picked successor, which perfectly illustrates the type of man Mr. Allen was.
What do you mean?
Only that there was no love lost between them, and yet recognizing Marlowe's outstanding business skills, he named him as his heir, so to speak.
Mr. Lindhart, I understand Mr. Allen was scheduled to meet with Captain Egan at 8:30.
Oh, yes. Egan's the artillery officer for the Admiralty. I saw him leave for the meeting around 8. He said goodnight and went out to the back door to the alley where he always leaves to catch a cab.
Do you know what the meeting was about?
Not that particular meeting, but Mr. Allen and Captain Egan did meet often to discuss the progress of their new special project, Project 10. I did find it curious that the meeting on the 9th was scheduled for the evening. All the others occurred during the day.
I imagine a person in his position must have been extremely concerned about security.
Indeed he was. He called in Lord Ragland after he noticed several strange people hanging around the Deverell Street plant. All the technical data, blueprints, that sort of thing are housed there.
I see. I understand you are now secretary to the new president, Mr. Marlowe.
Yes. He was Mr. Allen's hand-picked successor, which perfectly illustrates the type of man Mr. Allen was.
What do you mean?
Only that there was no love lost between them, and yet recognizing Marlowe's outstanding business skills, he named him as his heir, so to speak.
8 months ago, Allen came to this office with the design for a revolutionary new naval gun, most secret. The design was approved by the Navy.
What about the meeting you had planned with Mr. Allen for the evening of March 9th?
He never appeared, but you probably already know that.
Quite.
Actually, I knew nothing of what we were to discuss, but I've kept the wire he sent me that morning. Meet tonight, 8:30, your office. Call out the guard, pounce at 10. Quite vague, don't you think?
Does it mean anything to you, Captain Egan?
I think Allen was worried about security for project number 10. Of course, I put some of my best men on it right away.
Did you come up with anything?
Richard Camp, a development engineer on project number 10, was discovered bringing boxes and bundles to the French embassy. Emile Zobar, French military attaché, has his office there.
So you think Mr. Allen had information implicating Camp in the security breach of Project 10?
I did. Still do. But Lord Ragland, head of the project, assured me that Allen's security fears were unfounded.
You've spoken with Ragland since Allen's death?
Yes, we met on March 11th. As a precaution, he assured me he would remove Camp from the project.
Can you think of anyone else who might pose a security risk to the project?
Yes. For now, I have my men investigating Zobar, von Schulenburg, Delgera, and Meskov. Their governments would all have great interest in our new gun.
And what have you uncovered so far?
Unfortunately, nothing. Yet.
Mr. Marlowe, I'm investigating the murder of Courtney Allen. May I ask you some questions?
Certainly, but at the moment I'm much more concerned about the missing plans for our secret weapons project.
And what project might that be?
The special project number 10.
Whatever do you suppose happened to them?
I really have no idea, but that's a question for Scotland Yard to answer.
Mr. Marlowe, do you recall where you were on the evening of the 9th?
Why, yes, I was having dinner with Sir Clayton Partridge. We had played a round of golf earlier in the day.
I see. At Mr. Allen's death, I understand you automatically became the new president of Grant Arms Company. Is that correct?
Yes. Allen and I had an understanding on that score. Upon his retirement, I would take the office. As a matter of fact, that condition was the key reason I joined the company 3 years ago.